So the other thing that we've heard, right or wrong, you can correct us, is that Johnny Ace was sort of the eyes and ears for Eric Bischoff at the time. And Johnny Ace, of course, had been a major player over in Japan with the Baba family and organization. And of course, his Ace Crusher became the hottest move in the business here in the States under different names. But he is also the brother of Road Warrior Animal. It's weird how it all just sort of ties together. But what was your read on Johnny Ace at the time? Did you feel like, hey, maybe he's not exactly the big boss, but he gets it and he's one of the boys and he's good for us? Or, is the old narrative of, oh, anybody in that position's a stooge? That's not fair, but that's what people say of, anybody who's in talent relations, if you will. It's the heat position. We just talked about it last week. Your deal came to an end with WWF, and people to this day assume, oh, you must hate that guy. No, he's doing his job. What was your read on Johnny Ace here in 2000 and 2001, actually, with WCW?
It's funny you ask, because when you told me this was the topic and I started just jogging the brain, I specifically, as the lead up to all this, remember a flight. Me and Johnny were in first class, sitting side by side on the aisle, and we chatted. And at one time we stood up because I don't know if one of us went to the bathroom, whatever, and he said, but we basically stood for about an hour chatting about, you name it, life, wrestling, finishes, and all this. But I remember that I got the distinct feeling that he's feeling me out. And me and Johnny, even though the last couple of years we worked together side by side a lot, I don't think we ever even discussed this, but I remember thinking he's feeling me out, and I know that I'm feeling him out. But the thing that I couldn't wrap my head around was, I wonder if he realizes what he's stepping into. Not that he really cares, because at the end of the day, I'd heard his reputation in Japan. He's a Finnish guy. And look, I'd been over Japan a couple of times. I just knew American finishes and Japan finishes are not in the same ballpark, especially in the year 2000. So, he's going to be talent relations, but also a Finnish guy. And he was going to help me with finishes. And this ties into this story. It tied back into Bash at the Beach, but also during this whole sort of changeover of deal, that I'm thinking to myself, he's going to have to make sense out of finishes from the current creative mess with all the different names. That ain't going to be easy. And we had that conversation, but him being I didn't think of it, stooge. Basically, he's a part of Eric's due diligence in that team. But what is it going to look like? Like who, how's it going to move forward? We both felt each other out on that flight. But I didn't really know what his specific role was going to be in the new company. I understood what his role was. I know that coming off the Sid leg break, I think a lot of people put heat on Johnny because he told Sid, jump off the second rope to do this move. And I think it ended up in litigation over that, that Sid said that he didn't want to do it, but Johnny made him do it in fear of losing his job and all this. That is a true story. What I recall is that Johnny wanted him to do this move and Sid didn't feel comfortable. He did it and broke his leg. So, but again, Johnny being Joe's brother and look, it's the business. Johnny was one of the boys in my eyes at the end of the day.
So let's briefly discuss the Johnny Ace thing. When he sort of
John Laurinaitis.
Yeah, when he
John Laurinaitis, don't call him Johnny Ace.
Okay, sorry.
Johnny Ace doesn't work here. You ever heard that line?
No, I haven't heard that. Is that what he says?
In current employer, Johnny Ace does not work here.
Okay. Mr. Laurinaitis,
there you go.
when he drops that hint that, hey, something might be up or happening, how does that strike you?
As far as ownership?
Yeah.
I could not read okay, so new company coming in, who's going and who's staying? It's the easiest way for me to say it, that not everybody, things were about to change. Where was I going to fall in? But always, maybe the delusional optimistic, always had really a high level of confidence in my ability. I felt I could work with anybody, heel or babyface, opening match to main event. where were the chips going to fall, but I also knew my deal was not going to choke anybody out. And so I felt confident that I would fit into that. Just like I told Bill Bush, yeah, I'll get on board. I'm going to earn my way to the top. Watch me. And that was sort of my vibe. That wasn't exactly sure where it was going, but give me an opportunity and I'll put on my work boots and go to work and let the chips fall where they may.
So next up, after your DDP match, we're starting to build towards the final WCW pay-per-view, which is Greed. And you get to work with Dusty Rhodes and Ric Flair. As a kid who grew up in the wrestling business and understanding now, I guess with the benefit of context and hindsight, we know this is about to be the last WCW pay-per-view. And you go way back to the beginning of when this whole crazy run happened with Jim Crockett Promotions. It was a Flair and a Rhodes who really got this thing lit on fire. And now it's coming to a close on pay-per-view with them. It's kind of poetic in hindsight. And Rick's not teaming with his son, where Dusty is teaming with his son. He's teaming with Jeff Jarrett. How did you find yourself in this spot? And was the fan in you tickled like, dude, can you believe this? I grew up with these guys on TV and now here I am.
I've never believed in coincidences, only convergences. But yes, hindsight's 20/20 today, but I can remember living in the moment, thinking to myself, now again, I'd worked with Scott Steiner and Sid and Joe and the San Francisco match and the multiple Stings. Me and Sting at Halloween Havoc the prior year, we could have had just a knockdown drag out, and we had a really good match, but we ended up having 50 Stings in the ring. So all the ad nauseum layers, so to speak. But to get this opportunity, I knew then, because me and Dustin worked for WCCW, worked for my dad, and basically broke in back in '88. So that's how far back me and Dustin went. And having the opportunity, like you said, 605 Saturday nights, and knowing the history, and in the Memphis days when the Great American Bash toured, that was on top. It's on some shape, form, or fashion, and we're running the Mid-South Coliseum. So now fast forward to Greed, and I get the luxury of being in the ring with the two legends that we got to do showbiz, and some people, and Bruce would probably refer to it, got to do that Memphis wrestling. But here we are. We're going to walk and talk. We're going to entertain. Me and Dustin will be the workhorses, so to speak, and take all the bumps. And me and Dustin, I guarantee we'd have the same conversation today as we did 20 years ago. Look, we're going to do all the bumps, let the two showmen do their stuff. And I couldn't wait to feed for the elbow and just do that match, be a part of that. I was excited for it, and knowing that the direction we were going, and, at that time, Flair would come to the ring in slacks, and his heart wasn't, so to speak, completely into it. He was frustrated by all the above, and Dusty was frustrated with all the above. But it's like we sort of came together and okay, let's go have fun.